I can induce fatigue, disorientation, peer pressure, and probably pain, certainly confusion, into one scenario. So I could say to you, right, you're going to go in this room, you're going to get one, two, several problems, I don't know, and you're going to have to deal with it. You successfully dealing with it will be you getting through the exit at the back of the building where I'll be waiting. If you don't get there, then you didn't make it, right? That would increase induced trepidation, but you're not going in there strong. You're not going in there fresh and with the intel I've just given you. You're going in impaired. So I would make you do some wind sprints, some burpees, push up, squat thrust, stand you up, pinch your nose, spin you fucking round and round and round with your eyes shut, make you keep your eyes shut and then throw you in. So you are fatigued, confused, disorientated, in pain, probably nauseous, all those things. Fatigue replicates the effects of adrenaline well, because it makes you fucked before you even start. So people take a sharp intake of breath and hold their breath, or their heart rate's escalating, there's no oxygen, hence you're fucking out of breath massively quickly. The key to controlling all of the adrenal effects comes down to controlling the heart rate. But you can't control the heart rate in the moment. It's just about to kick off. It's kicked off, adrenal dumps happen, woof, it's hit your body. You can't go, whoop, hang on. And now you do your Tai Chi, Qi Gong, and you fucking lower your heart rate. That would be fucking good if you could do that, but you can't. Right? So what we're talking about there is diaphragmatic breathing, which has been around for fucking centuries. In these circles, they call it tactical breathing. So breathe in for 3 to 4 seconds, hold for 3 to 4 seconds, breathe out for 3 to 4 seconds, 3 to 4 times. And this will take your heart rate from a higher level incrementally down quite quickly. You should do it if you get stressed in traffic. You should do it prelude to seeing your boss, prelude to if you're going to have an argument at home, something. You should calm yourself. So SWAT team operators who are about to kick a door in and shoot a terrorist and save the hostage, en route to going around the perimeter of the building before the door kicker goes first, they are breathing to control heart rate, because if you stay within a controlled range on your heart rate, you stay cognitive, which is ideal. So the ideal would be to accumulate enough experience, either from real experience, simulated experience, visualized experience, and or any other means that you elicits an emotional response. Your subconscious brain is constantly getting bombarded with the message of solution. So your subconscious brain will always do what's best for you as long as it has the choice. But now you're mapping in choices. Now it just doesn't have freeze as a frame of reference. It has freeze or fight like fuck. And it's always go with the most productive proving strategy for you. It will always do what's best for you as long as it has the choice. So you're implementing the physical response in terms of that as you're training, and you're developing the emotional software that gives you permission to actually implement it. So it's all very well developing all the physical skills you need. If you've not got any mental framework to drive it, it won't drive. So it's the mental framework that you've got to look at. It's the mental framework that is the key to learning better how to control fear, how to control adrenaline. So what was poignant for me about this question raised was guys asking, does anyone else feel like this when shit goes south? And I actually remember saying that several times in my life to a couple of people. One was growing up during sort of gang days, if you like, where violence was very commonplace for me, and another time was on the doors. And I said to somebody, you know what, I don't know how many fucking times this happens. I've dealt with loads of things. Fucking adrenaline, oh mate, I just feel really fucking sick with it. It just makes me fucking knees and shake. I have to get my head on it. Do you know what I mean? Do you get that? And it just so happened that the people that I probably spoke to at the time, because most people within that circle are quite honest about it, because I know there's no hiding place for it. But at the time, I went, no, I feel like that. It's just you. So you think, fuck, maybe it's just me. And then you won't say nothing again because you feel a cunt, right? You start getting the old black dog, you beating yourself up. Why do I feel like that? You know? And of course, then when you act and you fight and you do the thing, and you have a proper fucking tear up, there's that euphoric thing afterwards, which is very short-lived, followed by the aftermath. But if you are in those circles and that happens quite frequently, then you start to go from that where it was debilitating feeling in the beginning to one where you think, here it comes, and if there's pre-intel and you've got time, then breathe, get down, let it get your heart rate down. So one good example would be the run, hide, fight scenario. Active threat comes in through the door, fucking run as quick as you can to nearest exit with you and yours. There's certain little ways to do that and you should learn them. If not, hide. Hide, barricade the door, fucking wait out till the authorities get there, great. It's your best chance. Worst case scenario, breaches the door, fight. You know, not in the UK, run, hide, tell, but in most places in the world, it would be run, hide, fight, right? Well, if you run in an alarmed state and you are now hiding, now you should be breathing. Getting back in what you call a Zen moment, get here now, so you want to be deep, tactical breathing, various ways, look at your research for that, get your heart rate down, switch back into cognitive. Say what you see now, right, so it's 12 o'clock, I'm wearing blue jeans, black t-shirt, right, there's 6 people in the room, there's 1 exit, we've barricaded it thus. Say what you see, bring you in the now. That will take you from previously limbic back to cognitive. Potentially sympathetic nervous system back to parasympathetic. Bring yourself back and control your emotional state. Now, of course, the door got fucking breached, terrorists coming through the door. In that time, you should have made a plan. Right, you choose to get to the side, you choose to get to the side, you're a distraction when he comes through the door, boom, we fucking swamp him. That would give you time to make a tactical decision under that kind of stress if you controlled your emotional state. You'd have to, it's the only thing you could do, right? If you were going to coordinate other people to help you, never rely on other people, but you would need to be in control of your emotional state, which means that you are controlling adrenaline, controlling fear, controlling confusion, disorientation, and potentially pain and fatigue, and you are striving to stay calm enough to think tactically. Now, in the run, hide, fight scenario, you've got time. So, like I said, the ideal would be if there was time, but if there's no time, then you can't just stop events and do Tai Chi. So you need to precondition in your physical training, whether you're training hard skills on a pad, with a partner, on a bag, on a bob, solo training times like we are now, or with a partner on pads, or in PadCom, or in full-on simulation or scenario, you are going to fuse the emotional intensity, emotional state to the physical skill. And you're going to strive to be immediately, instantaneously accessing a level of aggression that would eclipse what you're facing. So that brings us to the other element, which is state access. So again, 2 key elements of PsyCom. State management, controlling all emotions that could have a derogatory effect in association throughout the entire context of a street assault. Alright, so the ideal would be I am switched on and alert and aware, I get very early pre-threat cue recognition, and I get gone. Let's say I can't get gone, but I've got intel. Well, in that intel time now, as my heart rate's escalating, I'll be breathing to control it, and now I'm accessing a weapon, I'm looking at what I'm going to do, whatever else. Right? There's time there, but if somebody just jumps out at you and now you've got to fight, or grabs you and now you've got to fight, then the only way you can control breathing is through an immediate explosion of aggression. So your hard skill dynamic going through the person should be done with a guttural expulsion of air. So now you're forcing air out of your lungs as you blitz the cunt. Now, in order for you to sustain life, you've got to breathe back in. What you're not doing is holding your breath. So you're getting a handle on it. So when we're guttural and coming forward with any kind of assault, when we're ranging around or hitting, switching on that aggression is guttural and sounding. We're breathing. and that's allowing you to get a handle on adrenaline. So it's almost like a performance car that's fucking steering wheel is let go of it, it's just going to spin out of control, and you're trying to hold it, and you can hold it just about control. Gives you that kind of handle. And then with familiarity, through repetition, if you like, you start to get better at it. And you might even get to a point where you start to think, oh, did I have adrenaline? I don't know if I had it. And quite often you might get like that if something immediately happens and you just exploded into action. I don't know, let's say fucking beam was going to fall down on your kid and you just grabbed him around and fucking barged out the way so he was clear of it. You know, you went instinctual, what's often been referred to as system 1, system 2 parts of the brain. So system 1 would be automated reflex, corner of your eye flinch response. It's hardwired, yeah. Whereas system 2 would be more tactical cognitive decision making, applying my training because I've seen it coming as an idea. But if you're caught in that instinctual fucking moment where, you know, something's going to fall in him, you just dive to save him, well, there's no cognitive thought present there. You know, it's just you're working purely on subconscious brain and survival instinct. So, you know, you need to understand how that works. So in terms of controlling it, first of all, get the knowledge, get learned. Then expect it, it's going to come your way. Visualize it. If you've never had any experience, you're not training where you can induce scenario training, then visualize intently. We'll talk about visualization at another time, but try to get yourself in a calm, meditative state. Close your eyes and recall. Try and see what you would see, hear what you would hear, feel what you would feel. Bring in it to a heightened state. Now, if you vividly imagine something like so, and you started to get a tight jaw or a tensing of the shoulders, or you felt you inclined to move forward, nose over toes, you're changing the physiology of your body by summoning an emotional state change, if that makes sense. So you are thinking with enough intent that you actually feel like you're there. So it's like recapping something that was, you know, really quite sad in your mind, maybe a film, a book or something else, or an experience. And then even though you're recapping in your mind with your eyes closed, you're crying because it elicited an emotional response. So your subconscious brain will always do what's best for you as long as it has the choice. But your subconscious brain cannot decipher between a real event, simulated event, and a visualized event, as long as there was an elicitation of an emotional response. And if there was an emotional response, that will remain hardwired with you. Yeah, it's not just in and out, it's fused in. That's long-term memory now. Right, so first of all, knowledge dispels myth. Understand the definition of fear, anticipation of an unknown outcome. I don't know what's going to happen, therefore I'm fretful. Whereas adrenaline is a natural biochemistry that hits your body to get you out of danger. Learn how it hits your body, learn why it's hitting your body, and learn how you can potentially harness it. Breathing being one key, but exposure and desensitization being another. And I'm not being funny to people, but you know, this is 5 years ago material, 10 years ago material. You should already, as a student of self-protection, be fucking well clued into this, because now the potential for you to actually be offered a life-threatening level of violence is much higher than ever before. You know, there's a good chance. So level 10 threat of violence is deadly force. There's a potential for deadly force. Definition of deadly force: any force offered to you that is likely to create grievous bodily injury and or your death. So any situation that you find yourself in nowadays can result in that, because everyone's carrying a weapon. There's usually more than one. People are fucking irrational. People are crazy. You know, let alone if a situation like a pandemic escalated and created, you know, that kill or get killed attitude because everybody's starving. I mean, let's be honest, you know. If it triggered us back to that, then you're going to get one big fucking massive familiarity with adrenaline or exposure to adrenaline with no opportunity to gain familiarity, you know, it's just fucking make you capitulate. So you need to get your head on it now. You need to know that real violence could come your way, which braces the question is, how would I deal with that? Well, first is, how do you think you would deal with that? You are what you think you are. So first of all, you've got to reframe your perspective and pre-decide now. If any violence of a level 10 deadly force nature made its fucking introduction to me or mine, I will respond in kind fucking overwhelmingly. In which case now you're giving yourself permission to be aggressive, antisocial and violent. You've got to give yourself permission to be extremely aggressive, antisocial and violent more than the other guy. Because let's face it, bad people hurt good people. And if you want to deal with bad people, you've got to learn to be fucking bad. You've got to learn to be worse than them, and you've got to bring it on in a blink. So that kind of mental conditioning doesn't come overnight. First of all, yeah, you've got to be scared. Yeah, but what? If you do fuck all, you're dead. So you've got to fight, or at the very least have the dignity to die fighting. And the something that you do must be based on your belief system. So your belief system must be, first of all, ask the questions. Right. In order to have any chance of dealing with a situation that is potentially level 10 threat, right? So let's say armed home invasion. 3 people beat your fucking door in, and machetes, they're going to fucking end you and yours for what you've got. Unless you end them, right? Pretty fucking adrenal-inducing situation, would you agree? Right? You've got to get your head right. So in order for you to have any chance of dealing with a situation like that, you must prepare first on an emotional and psychological level. It is now, before the likelihood of facing such an event, that you have to find your own combative mindset. The willingness to do whatever's necessary to fucking deal so you can prevail and go home, right? So you got to look deep within yourself. So the questions that you might want to ask, and these are good questions to reflect on while we're in fucking lockdown, to be fair. What do you truly want to live for? What is it about life that you love, that wants you to keep going? You know, hopefully you're not just pushing a rock up an hill. You should have aspirations and goals. Something that makes you grateful to be alive, in love with life. That would be good, right? What would you truly be prepared to die for, if anything? Is there anyone out there that would? There's probably many people that won't. Many people that just consider themselves. But do you have anything that you truly want to live for and that you'd be willing to die for? And you got to ask yourself the question, what, if anything, would I truly be prepared to kill for? Access that part of myself that's capable of dealing with what makes me fearful, violence, but to a greater level so that I destroy potentially what's in front of me. Well, if you did that, you're never going to be the same again. You know that. You're going to be different. Not different worse, but different on a different level, a different person. But you might have to contemplate those questions before you can actually engage, because you can have all the physical skills that you like, you've got the physical hardware, until you get your head around those questions, you ain't got the emotional software. Any good citizen that has those that love him and those that he loves, they're a good reason to live for. So your family, siblings, your children, your wife, husband, partner, somebody else's wife, whatever. But others that you care about. Protecting yourself and those you love, as well as preserving your right to live your life the way you choose, are worth dying for and worth killing for, in my book. Any chance of fighting back begins and ends with this realization. You need to understand and accept that at some point in your life, whatever years you have left, certainly in your children's generation, there's a good chance that you could find yourself having to deal with a real threat to life that you need to deal with before it deals with you. And there's a need to get your head around that. You know? Bottom line is there's no safe way to do dangerous things, as it's been said before. So if you want to deal with violence, you've got to be fucking violent. So state management would be required first. Pre-fight perspective would be required first. How you think about a task, an event, will determine how you deal with the event and your task. So if I've got to deal with 3 violent criminals that fucking broke into my house and they're all armed, then I've got to arm, and I've got to use deceptive fucking sneaky tactics and ambush them from the rear out of the dark. and be willing to keep going until they're dead so they don't harm me. It's an extreme, but you get the point. There would be an emotional software that would need to be plugged into the hardware of the skills that would allow me to do that, and I put it to you that part's the most important. So there is a need for you to get a realization and to ask yourself and look within deep, you know. You're faced with that kind of level of threat and violence, could I summon the same and deal with it? Or if not, why not? You know, if you're too much swaying on the passive scales, you've got passiveness, aggressiveness scale. Somewhere in the middle, I guess, is the ideal. So on the passive scale, you're capable of showing empathy and being fair and just where that's concerned, you know. And on the other side of things, be prepared to escalate the antisocial part of yourself in order to stand up and not be violated. So you want to be somewhere in the middle. So some people are too passive, pushed over for all their life, fucking worm never turns, and just get devoured. Because if you look like food, you get eaten. Get put on, get taken advantage of, etc. because they're too passive, because they can't speak up. And then you've got extreme the other end. You know, somebody who needs anger management, aggressive, too curt, too hostile. Somewhere in the middle would be somebody that is fair but willing to assert. So that mid-level, and that really is established by, you know, whether you've got a moral compass and what your belief systems are. So my belief system begins with so you need a belief system as a strategy. So the belief system as a strategy allows you to control adrenaline and fear. So my belief system has several base layers. The first is self-importance. I'm too important to be taken away or lost to those I love or that love me. And that's not because I'm too important because I'm hot shit, it's because I'm too important because I need them and they need me. And I must prevail in order to have that. I'm not ready to go yet, no way. So you will not take me. Self-importance. Next layer is indignation. So if somebody threatened me or put me in a forceful corner or offered me physical harm or looked to create my demise, then they are taking away everything I love and everything I love away from me. Rather than be fearful of that, I will be fucking angry. I will access a state of righteous indignation that says, how fucking dare you step into my life and fucking threaten what I love. You step to the scratch if you want to die, you cunts. That would be my response to it. So rather than be in an emotional state of fear, fretful and panic, I'd just be fucking outraged. And I would access a level of aggression when called upon that will eclipse yours. In my head, that is me. That is what I would do. In a situation like that, my pre-fight perspective would be, how fucking dare you? I'm a bigger fucking predator than you. I'm going to devour you. And it doesn't matter whether I'm a bigger predator than you or not. If I believe that in that moment, it's operational. I'll either reach the end goal or I die doing it. And you'll never forget me. I'll be the best, second best you've ever seen. So, in terms of accessing indignation, they say nobody fears when angry. Well, the fact is, you can't be in two emotional states at exactly the same time. You cannot be fearful, angry. You cannot be fearful, petrified, scared, capitulating, borderline, and angry. It's one or the other. It's like when I was on my seminars, I talk about the great naturalist Steve Irwin. How he would put his head into a small cave where there was a nest of vipers, and it was right out from him, you know, I'd be shitting myself, and it's hissing up, protecting its young, and he's like, wow, look at her, look at the iridescent sheen, isn't she beautiful? He's in such a state of fascination that it totally eclipses fear. You know, I'm not saying that that's necessarily that you shouldn't have fear, you should have healthy fear, but you should not want fear that is going to allow you to capitulate, that's going to be derogatory to your performance. So even if I was outraged with righteous, focused indignation, it would be controlled anger. I would be so angry that I would be calculated in my tactical plan of action that will fucking remove you from this planet. You know, in And that's where your regulator for use of force should come in, to allow you to state manage and not go beyond. So I want to access a level 10 level of violence. If you're facing me with a 10, I'm accessing 12, and I'm going to devour you. And as I've said before, if I'm physically exploding through you and you're not what I thought you were, then I can turn my level of response down. If I'm going to fight tooth and nail for my life, well then I'm fucking staying at 10 and I'm pressing to 12, and I'm going to keep going until I can't go anymore. And the outcome of that will be you're done, or we're both done. You know, whatever. It will be productive towards the goal of eliminating the threat. So the first component of that is how you think about the perceived event. And like I said, you've got to ask yourself those questions. The belief system, develop a belief system. Yeah, that's based around what would you live for? What would you be prepared to die for? What would you kill for? Well, you know, I'm too important to lose because there's too many people that I love, so I won't fucking have it. Then there's indignation. How dare you try to take that from me? And that's where it's going to result in your demise, because the angrier you make me, the fucking more dangerous it's going to become for you. And I guess it stems from fear. It all stems from fear. You're angry because you make me fearful. You make me fearful that you're going to take me away from those I love, and those I love away from me. That makes me fearful. That makes me angry. It makes me. I turn that into righteous indignation. So like Masa Ayub said, you've got to turn your fear into fire. Turn your fear into fire, and that really comes from establishing the belief system. So the first layer of my belief system, like I said, is self-importance. I'm too important to lose. I must prevail. Second is indignation. How fucking dare you? Third level is confidence. I've been doing this shit 42 years, most days of my life. How can you not get good? And I've had a significant number of experiences that have showed me what I'm made of. A lot more than some, really less than others, but enough. And I know myself. And of course, violence is my business. I research my enemies. And know yourself, know your enemy. Back to the Sun Tzu. It's apt now as it was then. So a big part of your awareness has got to be self-awareness. You know, look at yourself, analyse. If real threat violence come up to you now, how do you think you respond? Be honest. And if there's leaks in there, how could you fix it? Well, just the simplest way to fix it is just to think about loss. And this is where I'm going to wrap this up, because I'm going to go on and on otherwise. You know, hypothetical situation. This is what I say in these kind of lectures, right? You're a student of self-protection. You're unsure about your actual ability to control adrenaline if it ever comes your way. It's never happened to you yet, and you're pretty sure you're going to struggle with it, and how you perceive your performance is questionable, let's say. Right. Well, bottom line is, if you really want to know how you perform, get yourself as close to those conditions as you can. That's what you've got to simulate. But let's say in this hypothetical situation, two guys step out at you, one of them's got a knife, he's going to rob you in a subway, and there's a moment of indecision. You capitulate as soon as you get a realisation that this is real. You falter and you die. It results in your demise. Right? First of all, I want you to think about loss from your perspective there. You can stop that, come out of yourself and look down. Well, you're never going to see another sunset, another full moon. You're never going to take another holiday. You're never going to reach any goals. You're never going to see your loved ones ever again. You're never going to feel anyone, love anyone, touch anyone, smell. You're never going to taste. You're never going to eat again. You're never going to go anywhere. It's done. It's done. There's nothing else for you. It's over. Like it ended now. Blink. No more life. Well, that's a big loss, isn't it? Now, if that isn't enough for you to evoke, I don't want that to happen to me, fuck that, I'm not going to face that with fear, I'm going to fucking be angry if that comes near me, and I'm going to learn how to deal with it. If that doesn't invoke that feeling in you, thinking about your personal loss, now think about loss in another context. Think about loss to those that you care about. So let's say the guy in the SED hypothetical scenario in the subway where he couldn't access his skill set even though he trained and he didn't have the emotional software, and he died. How would your significant other, partner, wife, whatever, and your children be the second? So let's say your wife, cops knock on the door, sorry to inform you that your husband was, or your partner was, killed last night, da 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 da. So imagine, picture their face initially when they get that news. How pained or shocked they might be. You know, I'm talking about a good relationship, your wife loves you, she fucking wishes you dead. So I remember saying this question in a seminar in Germany, really fucking funny. And I said, can you imagine your wife, the moment she hears the news, so and so is dead? And his mate in the audience went, yay! Like that. That's what his wife would do. It was fucking funny. You had to be there, but it was really funny. But I'm working off the idea is that, you know, your other half, your partner, your family, your kids, your wife, your whoever is your soulmate. And now they get that news that you're dead, that you're no longer there. So the pain that they would feel in that moment, you know, look at that. Then look at, you know, she's been sobbing all night, fucking 24 hours later now, children are with you, with your mum or her mum, and now she's got to tell the kids, Daddy's gone. You know, imagine their little faces, their pained faces when they find out, oh, Daddy's gone to heaven now, Daddy's dead. Horrible, horrible. By now, if you took this self-awareness test and done this little bit of visualization and recalling and in the right way, you would start to feel emotional. You would probably first of all feel emotionally sad and wouldn't want to continue. I encourage you to push through. And then fast forward, well, 6 to 12 months now. Well, in 6 months, you were the breadwinner, you know, so you can't pay the mortgage, so she lost the house. So they got moved out to temporary accommodation elsewhere in a shitty area. Kids are uprooted from school, had to go to a new school, going through an experience of change, getting bullied, they feel really upset and emotional. Imagine how distraught they would be, and how would that make you feel? Looking back at it in hindsight. You know, 12 months, 18 months goes by, your wife's been loyal, but now she lies down with someone else at night. How would you feel about that? How would you feel knowing that your kids still think about you now and then? You know, of course they do, your daddy, but they get on with life, they're resilient, they're laughing, they're happy again. So they move on, as children do. You know, you could see that in your future. How would it make you feel? And at that point, when you start to dwell more on the entire situation and the knock-on consequences and the cause effect of it all, I want you to freeze frame and go back to the hypothetical incident when you were in the subway that night with two fucking miscreants. And you look at the two miscreants and the one with a knife, and you look at them, you freeze frame them, and you freeze frame them, and you look at them, and you reflect on all the pain and heartache and loss that they created to you, to your loved ones, all that pain, all that hurt, and you look at the reason why these two fucking miscreants, all because you couldn't find it in yourself in that moment to do what was necessary to deliver a greater level of violence and aggression than was offered you. Totally eclipsed what you were facing, and that may have indeed resulted in you having to end the pair of them. But regardless, you couldn't find it in that moment to access what you needed to deal with that problem. Well, if you could freeze frame it and rewind after the experience of looking at loss, you would probably feel very different about it. Your emotional state of fretful trepidation that made you capitulate because you were unfamiliar with the feelings of adrenaline would now be replaced by feelings of intense anger, with just the remorse of allowing that subject to make you completely capitulate and create the knock-on effect of all that loss. So really the way you want to think about it is that the more fearful a situation should make you, the more fucking dangerous you should become, because that's what it threatens to take away. And if you could reframe your perspective before the event or any such event that comes into vogue, now with forethought, then you will cultivate what's called preconditioned fury, where you have a preconditioned fury that is a trigger for a combative response that you associate to your physical response that you would tear through the enemy. You know, bearing in mind, if you could have escaped, you would have. If you could have talked your way out of it, you would have. You're a cornered animal and it's you or them. Well, if you preordain your belief system and you contemplate loss and you reframe your perspective about how you would confront such an event on an emotional level, you will now develop this preconditioned theory. And any even remote pattern of behaviour that starts to reflect what cultivated in that loss should ignite in you immediate willingness to take part. You know, complete and utter fight state that is hell-bent on doing whatever it takes for you to prevail in order for you to get home. So that kind of pre-mental conditioning. So if a lot of people can't find it for themselves, they can find it for those that they love. So they're looking at it from a secondary perspective of loss of those that you care about at the loss of you, you know, and look back at the reason as to why or who did that, and then how you would face it differently. So what you're using is what Kevin Sikors calls the Etch-a-sketch analogy. So I might have you do a blitzkrieg drill in training where you're accessing aggression and blitzing through with forward pressure, offensive, constant offensive forward pressure in a physical dynamic. And I might give you the hypothetical simulation that, well, you were just in a situation where you had to protect you and a significant other from a significant threat, and what you had didn't quite make it, and you ended up dead as a result, and the person that you were striving to protect got violated in the worst way you could think of. Well, that's going to give you a bad day, that kind of thinking, but it will certainly make you consider that you need to be worse next time. And then the Etch-a-sketch analogy is, so use the old Etch-a-sketch when you were a kid, or when I was a kid. You could draw on this Etch-a-sketch and it would make a picture of anything, and then you would just shake it and it would disappear and you could start again. So I heard Kevin Sikors talk about this Etch-a-sketch analogy. It's a really good thing. So you say in your hypothetical scenario, after you contemplate loss, what you employed didn't cut it, but just by sheer magic, we can shake the Etch-a-sketch and you get one more go. So you get one more go at the hypothetical incident of you protecting yourself and a significant other from harm. What would you do different? How much more aggressive would you be? How much more violent would you be? How much more willing would you be to take part? You know, questions that you want to ask yourself. Your brain's a question answering machine. So if you take that idea back to the hypothetical scenario in the subway where you didn't make it home, if faced with such a situation, what would you do different? Well, I'll put it to you that you would, with your preordained decision of anyone offering you violence, you will respond in kind fucking overwhelmingly, would be at the forefront of your mind now, and would indeed allow you to control fear. Well, these are all questions you want to think about now. This is the kind of conditioning that you want to develop now. So going back to my belief system is all too important to lose, then indignation that somebody would try, and then the next layer would be confidence in my ability to do it. So, you know, like I said, I've been doing this shit for 42 years, most days of my life. How can you not get good? I've had enough experience of violence to know that I will stand, in which case I'm confident that I will do it, and I trained all my life to deal with such things. So, therefore I believe my belief system is that I'm capable and confident of doing it. And if it's my time, well then fuck it, it's my time. I'll be the best second best you've ever seen. So, I don't want to live forever, whatever. So that's the belief system I have that allows me to control fear and engage violence at an extreme level, should I need to, if I had to. Hopefully I will never need to again, but if there's a good chance I will. In which case my head is right, and that's what I mean by got to get your head right. So just some ideas for you to contemplate about. First of all, get an understanding of what adrenaline is. Understand that the distinction between what's misinterpreted as fear. Fear is just anticipation of an unknown outcome. You don't know what's going to happen, therefore you are fearful. Whereas adrenaline is a natural biochemistry that creates a chemical cocktail in the body of adrenaline, endorphins, dopamine, norepinephrine, which in professional circles is called the SSR, the Survival Stress Response. So look at Grossman's study and Bruce Siddle's study, as I said. Triggered interaction by the amygdala, which then escalates the heart rate and brings on the said effects. Well, first of all, learn about that. Learn why, the whys and hows. Now you learn to expect it, and you accept it into your body, and in fact you breathe it and you use it. You're much more familiar. You've been here before, and you want to replicate that in your training. So, adrenal stress-inducing training, implementing the factors of fight duress. If I make you perform in a hard scenario where there's consequences if you don't get it right, in front of all your peers, that will elicit an adrenal response. It could trigger your midbrain. If you spend some time in that kind of idea of training and simulation and intensive visualization, then you are going to create the blueprint and neurological pattern within your subconscious brain to give you the best tactical decision, as opposed to there's no options on the disc and you just freeze up. So familiarity, gain an understanding of what adrenaline is all about first, and the difference between that and what's misinterpreted as fear. Learn to replicate in your training where you can simulate those effects to a fair degree, so that you can work towards desensitization and focus on your pre-fight perspective, one of that you must prevail. You focus on what you're going to do and fuck what they're going to do. Bottom line is, from the day we're born, we're dying, we're all on a clock, we're going to go one day. Just consider the fact that it's what you do while you're here. So you'd be surprised or amazed even at what you could get used to if you were put in an environment where you were facing aggressive dialogue and behaviour and violent behaviour. Most days you would gradually be desensitised to it. You would either wither up and dissipate, or you would find a way in which to deal with it. You would adapt. As human beings, we can adapt. You just need to get familiarity. And like I say, that the last couple of decades, social conditioning has made man soft, made man weak in terms of confrontational, dealing with confrontation. So the effects of adrenaline are never going to go away. They're the same, exactly the same for, as was Customato said, for the hero and the coward. The difference is that the hero will use it and act upon it. The other one will be debilitated by it. But it certainly starts with knowledge. Get a knowledge of what happens in terms of survival stress response when the amygdala encounters perception of danger, and what effects will that have on your body, and how can I gear my training and my thought process physically and emotionally towards making the best of that situation. Just food for thought. A lot of this stuff is all in psychom. There's a psychology which is available on the website. It's also on the online learning. In terms of psychom, when I wrote that, it was a big manual that covered all elements that relate to neural-based study, neural-based learning, NLP learning methodologies, understanding fear state, access state management, all in one place. And to be honest, not enough people have seen psychom, so I'm going to look to potentially get it released or published by Amazon on an audiobook so that everybody can see it. Outside of that, I might do an audiobook of it, relating each chapter for you guys too. But I just wanted to address the idea, the understanding of fear and adrenaline, the difference between it, the fact that we all experience it, we've all had it, and just what my thoughts are in terms of what you need to do to get a greater handle on it. Hope you find it useful. Peace.